You know that really annoying situation when your phone battery starts to die and now you're charging it multiple times per day? There's nothing actually wrong with your phone. The battery is dead, but everything else works perfectly. In a normal world, you just swap out the battery and keep the phone. But in our world, that problem is treated like a death sentence, and the solution is buying a new phone for 800, 900 euro. And this problem is not just with smartphones, it's electronics that we use every day. The problem is so bad right now that there's now laws about it. All over the world, right to repair rules are forcing tech companies to stop gluing everything shut and making it impossible to fix your own stuff. These companies want you to buy a new model. If you can fix it yourself, they're losing out on money. So they purposely glue your electronics shut, make it difficult to repair and just easier to replace. The result is perfectly fixable electronics just end up in e-waste, and you're buying new smartphones every 1 to 2 years. And then you've got Fairphone, a company that's built entirely around the idea that you should be able to repair your phone and keep it for years. Instead of gluing everything shut, they make it modular. If your battery's dying, you can simply order a new one, pop off the back and replace it with a normal screwdriver. They are also working really hard to fix the things that you don't see, using fairer materials, paying bonus to factory workers, and designing the phone so it lasts longer instead of quietly wearing out. On paper, this is an amazing story, and one that many people can get behind. But when you land on their landing page, it looks like any other phone shop. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through Fairphone's website. I'll show you 3 fixes that I think would make their mission way clearer and also sell a lot more phones. Okay, so let's jump into Fairphone's landing page and I'll talk through what the current setup is. First of all, you can see in the hero section, we have this video in the background that's showing someone using the phone. We have just one big hero title and then a call to action. If we scroll down, you can see we get to some of their products. So we have headphones, we have the Fairphone 5, Fairphone 6, and then Fairbuds. So we go straight into a product section. Just below this, we have choose repair over replace. So they're explaining here that the phone is modular and that you can swap out new parts pretty easily yourself. Just below this, we have a kind of pretty underwhelming impact section. So picture of the phone, e-waste neutral, which I don't know would make a lot of sense to many people. And you can click this discover your impact section where they have a little bit more, but it's kind of hidden away. I feel like this information needs to be more front and center. Just down from this, we have their rewards program. We have their blog, again, mentioning some of the things like their impact report. And then we get to the end, which is 2 call to actions. One is for their newsletter and one is for their business customers. At the very end of the page here, we have Trustpilot reviews, but this is really the first trust building element we see on this page, and it's buried way down the bottom. And they're pulling in some of these, what look to be dynamic reviews, maybe coming from Google. Some are very simple, like smooth, easy, and reliable, not really giving us much information. And that's really it. We get to the end of the page and we haven't really learned much about Fairphone. It looks like any other phone shop, and I think they're really missing an opportunity to explain their mission. So 3 things that jump out to me immediately reviewing this page. Number 1 is the hero section tells me nothing about the brand. It gives me a title about the Fairphone 6 and everything else I kind of need to piece together myself. So this is a huge opportunity for improvement. Second, when I scroll through the page, I really don't learn anything about Fairphone or what makes them different. For such a strong brand that has a really strong mission, all of this information is missing. So I think that really needs to be brought out. And then third, there's very little trust building elements on the page. I have to scroll all the way to the end before I get the Trustpilot reviews. And it's kind of unusual because they actually have really strong reviews. So let's get into fix number 1. If we scroll back up here again, we'll look at the hero section. And to me, this looks like they've gone and taken an example from Apple. So if we were to actually look at Apple's landing page for the iPhone 17, you can see that they have this big title, iPhone 17 Pro, and just a CTA underneath it. So I would imagine that they've taken some inspiration from Apple here and use that on their hero section. If you're Apple, you can get away with that. Everyone already knows who you are. You're one of the most iconic brands in the world. But if you're Fairphone, you need to do a little bit more. You need to explain what your product is, what makes it different. Because if you don't do that, people won't stick around to figure it out themselves. So fix number one is definitely going to be redesigning this hero section because this is the most important part of your website. Most people will only see this. So we're going to look at that in the redesign. Fix number two is really explaining like what makes Fairphone different and why it matters. Fairphone has a really strong reason to exist. The materials are more responsible, they have better conditions for their workers, and the fact that you can repair it yourself means that less smartphones and electronics are being sent to the dump. But if I scroll through this homepage, I don't really feel any of that. I see phones, prices, discounts, and it kind of just feels like any other phone store. Especially in such a competitive space like smartphones, you need to give people a really strong reason as to why they should choose you. Why should they choose you over Apple or Samsung? And I think if you can explain that, you have a better chance of getting people to buy into your product. So fix number two is going to be clearly explaining what makes them different and why it matters. So bringing out some of that impact and clearly showing it on the landing page. And the final fix is going to be about building trust. The only trust signal that I see on this page is buried way down the bottom near the footer, and most people will never see that. Buying a phone is obviously a huge decision. You're going to use it every day for years. So you need to know that other people have bought it and they're happy with it. So if we want to convince people to buy this phone, we need to start layering some trust elements throughout this page. Okay, so let's take a look at this redesign now that I've done with these three fixes that I mentioned actually visible so you can see. So first of all, starting off in the hero section, we're going to go with a very clear title of a phone that lasts and stands for something. Rather than just leading with the name of the Fairphone 6, we're going to give a hint as to what makes this different and why the customer viewing this should actually care. We'll then back that up by saying Fairphone is built to last up to 8 years, designed to be repaired, and made with fair materials. Powerful tech that respects people and the planet. So now we've led them into explaining exactly what that difference is. So it lasts longer, it's designed to be repaired, and it's made from fairer materials. Below this we have two CTAs, so we're keeping Shop Fairphone 6, and we're also going to add in a secondary CTA, what makes us different. So this could lead to their about page, to their impact page, and it allows people to explore further if they want to understand, okay, I'm interested, but what actually is Fairphone all about? Just below this, and this is really important, we've added a trust banner. As we saw on the original site, there was very little trust building elements. So the very first one we're going to put in place here is visible without scrolling. So people who are landing here can already see that this is legit and they have really strong customer reviews. So that's the hero section. We're not leaving it up to the customer to figure out what Fairphone is about or why it matters to them. We're backing it up with the title, clear subtitle, and we're building trust immediately in the hero. So fix number two is all about explaining why Fairphone is different and also the impact that they have. So those two things were really missing from the current landing page. So this first section we're going to get to right under the hero is going to explain the difference between Fairphone and a typical smartphone. So we've laid this out in a very simple comparison. So we have typical smartphone on the left, a cracked screen will cost you €200, dying battery means time for a new phone. And on the right, we have Fairphone. So replace it yourself for €70. If your battery's running low, swap it in seconds. So this is really just about laying out that information, clean and simple for the user. If we scroll down a little bit further, you can see that I've added a couple of extra points here, things that might be important. So you can repair it yourself, keep it for up to 8 years. It's fairer for people and there's less e-waste. The second part that was missing from the original landing page was the impact. So Fairphone has an incredible impact on its workers, the materials they use, and also the fact that less things are being thrown into waste, more things are being recycled. So we wanted to make that more clear and visible. So this section is better for you, better for the planet. We're using a very simple image and we're going to bring out some of those key stats that they had hidden away on the impact page. So 48% less greenhouse gas emissions, 29 tons of e-waste collected, 20,000 people in fair working conditions, and over 1 million paid in living wage bonuses. So these are all amazing things that people will appreciate, customers of Fairphone will appreciate, and there are more reasons why people can get behind Fairphone and understand their mission. So the final fix that we mentioned for this landing page, we saw that there was very little trust building elements on the page. They were tucked away down near the footer. And we really need to be building trust throughout this page. So as we've just seen, we added that trust banner with the reviews and the certificates to the hero, so that's visible before the user needs to scroll. And we've added a couple more in the page here. So just under the impact section, we've added some big customer testimonials. We've made it very big and visual. You could obviously improve the design of this a little bit, but these are all speaking to different parts that other customers would care about. So the fact that I didn't have to replace it every 2 years, it just works. I fixed my screen myself. Knowing my phone wasn't made with exploitation makes it feel different to use, and it's the best tech purchase I've ever made. 4 years in, still going strong. So as we scroll down the page, we're going to continue building trust. So this was actually a review that I saw from a really famous tech reviewer, Marquez, and he was saying that this just so happens to be the most repairable, most sustainable, and most modular phone basically of all time. And that is no small feat. If you have a really strong testimonial like this from probably one of the most popular or recognizable tech reviewers, why not include it on the landing page? It adds such a layer of credibility and trust that people seeing this, they think, okay, other people are talking about this and it must be important. Just below this, I've also included a quote from the CEO. I think nowadays we're getting a lot more used to seeing faces of brands stepping forward. They're no longer just corporate Instagram or TikTok accounts. The people behind the brands are really stepping forward and getting in front of the camera, and that really builds a human connection to the audience. And I've seen the CEO of Fairphone doing some videos, which I think is great. So why not bring out some of those quotes, make them visible on the page, make the people behind Fairphone more visible. And again, it just adds more trust. Then right before we get to the end of the page, before we get to that final CTA, we're going to include the Trustpilot banner. So again, really great reviews, 4.3, excellent from Trustpilot based on 27,000 reviews. So we're going to make this the final trust building element on the page before we get to the end. Okay, so those are the three big fixes. Number one, we're going to stop pretending to be Apple and the hero. We need to make that information about what it is and why it's different front and center, because most people will only ever see that. Second, we're going to bring out the why. We're going to explain what makes Fairphone different, and we're also going to show the impact throughout the page. And then we're going to convince more people that this is safe to buy by building trust all the way through the landing page. So Fairphone builds something that's taking on the entire industry. It's repairable, it's ethical, and it's built to last years. But their website was looking like any other phone shop. In an industry that's dominated by Apple and Samsung, you can't afford to blend in. Your difference is your advantage, but only if people can see it. So we're going to show the impact, we're going to show the proof, and then we're going to convince people that Fairphone is worth getting behind.